Hi, I want to tell you, you are procrastinating. How do I know that? Well, studies show that 75% of people consider themselves procrastinators and up to 95% find themselves procrastinating. So there's no question, we're all procrastinators and so are you. The only question is, what are we going to do about it? How can we improve this issue? By the end of this video, you will not only know the answers, you'll also remember them. And you're not only going to remember, you're about to implement a drastic cut in your procrastination problem. We'll start with the definition what procrastination is. It's a task that is rejected or postponed, and the task is positive, and the consequence of not doing it are negative. So we are talking about damage. And the postponement is voluntary. You chose to postpone, and there was no real need for this delay in the task at hand. So procrastination is really a voluntary, unneeded prevention of a contributing task, a task with a positive outcome. So that's real damage. Now, there are two results from procrastinating. On one hand, you didn't get what you wanted, damage was done, you're not where you wanted to be. But there's even a second result, an aftershock that might be even worse, because when you see that you didn't do what you wanted to do, how do you feel when you put off what you should have done? You feel disappointment. You feel disappointed from yourself. You feel self-blamed. It's damage to your self-confidence. A person is happy when he's moving towards his goal, and failure to achieve a goal is frustrating. The damage to your self-image will cause even more procrastination. So first, we're going to get to the heart of the matter. We'll identify thinking distortions that cause procrastination. You got to understand, procrastination in the base, in the heart of it, is caused by thinking distortions. We will learn to identify them, and we'll learn to spot them and stop them. Then we will learn techniques that will help you accomplish what you want. So what makes us procrastinate? Procrastination is composed of habitual thinking distortions. You have some distortion in your thinking, and we all do. Science found we all have thinking distortions. There are many books about the thinking distortions that we have. Some apply to our day-to-day distortions, like Dan Ariely's books, and some are more about psychological distortions, and that's the psychological CBT or REBT. These treatments treat our wrong thinking. But in general, social science concludes we all hold some degree of thinking distortions. Many of our thinking distortions cause the procrastination that we have. So our procrastination in the base, in the heart of it, is made out of thinking distortions. We gotta identify these thinking distortions, and that's the way we can beat procrastination. So let's go over these distortions. The first distortion is the immediate pleasure thinking distortion. We all know that we naturally tend to reject whatever is unpleasant and causes us effort or pain, and we want to bring closer to us whatever is enjoyable. That's okay, that's normal. But the distortion occurs when we undervalue perceived future benefit whilst we overvalue the perceived benefit of an immediate reward. The same applies to discomfort and effort. We overestimate the immediate effort or discomfort and underestimate future effort or discomfort. This thinking distortion tendency is a cause for our procrastination. Perfectionism is also a cause for our procrastination. Procrastination is more a disease of perfectionists than of those who say, oh, let's just do it, whatever will be, will be. Striving for perfection is actually striving for the impossible. Therefore, it is paralyzing. Performance without problems and difficulties does not exist. There's no such thing as perfect. Another thinking distortion we have is fear of doing something that seems too overwhelming. Fear of failure. Fear caused by low self-esteem. There can also be fear of success. It's a fear about what happens if I do succeed. Another thinking distortion we have is a self-handicapping distortion, making yourself disabled. If you succeed, it's despite of the disability. If not, the disability is the excuse. So it could be something like, well, I just didn't have enough enough time because I had only one evening to study. Or I didn't sleep, I went to a party last night. Or I ran with this old shoe that I had. So, I mean, if you succeed, then you've done it although you had a disability. And if you failed, now you have an excuse why you failed. Another thinking distortion is the student syndrome. People will do the work at the last moment possible. Hundreds of studies on students have shown this. That's why this thinking distortion is called the student syndrome. This is an extension of Parkinson's law. The more time you set for a task, the more time it will take. But in the student's case, you don't even set a deadline, so your task is dead. The overassessment of future abilities is also thinking disorder. It's thinking that tomorrow you're going to have more motivation, more strength to do the task. This is a thinking disorder in addressing how you will feel and act in the future. So you say to yourself, tomorrow I'll be in the mood for it, and then I'll do it. You really don't know how you will feel tomorrow or predict what will happen tomorrow. Now, you just don't have the motivation, but you estimate that tomorrow you will have the motivation. Therefore, you procrastinate today. In general, the assumption that you're supposed to be in the right mood to perform is incorrect. You must perform in any mood. When you start performing, the right mood will come to you. Every time you don't feel like it, say to yourself, I'll only start to work on it for 3 minutes. If you feel like it, you can stop afterward, but you'll most probably want to continue. As the saying goes, inspiration exists. It just has to find you working. So don't believe in doing better tomorrow. Tomorrow, you'll have even a lower desire to the task. In conclusion, the causes of procrastination are completely normal thinking distortions that we all have. Reoccurring procrastination becomes a habit. The fact that procrastination becomes a habit worsens the situation because automatic processes are done without intention. So it's hard to spot our default automatic thinking. For example, as soon as you think you'll have more energy or mood to perform tomorrow, you just automatically leave the task and do something else. As soon as you fear just a bit of fear, you don't analyze the feeling. You might not even notice that you're afraid. You just go to get a cup of coffee and draw yourself to something else. Now once you got to the habit, the spinning wheel is hard to stop. What makes it roll even faster is when you criticize yourself since you procrastinated. Now you even have less power to get off that habit wheel. You seem to be a failure in your own eyes. The task that has been delayed grows bigger in your own eyes. You're starting to dig deeper into the habit.
Okay, so how do we solve the puzzle?
Like treating any habit, first you must recognize the trigger. In this case, your trigger is the faulty thinking. If you caught the trigger, you now have to introduce a new substituting behavior. This means that if you want to reduce procrastination, you have to develop a readiness. But how can we recognize automatic thoughts when they are automatic? How do we remember what to do? This lecture is built to give you the tools that you will remember. You will recognize and be prepared to detect a faulty thought. Recognizing the thought will immediately expose its fault. That is why we will turn these thoughts into humorous characters. Once you recognize these characters, you will halt entering the habit loop. You will not automatically execute your habit. You will understand their faulty thinking disorders. So let's go over the thinking mistakes once again, but this time we're going to do it with our characters. First up, representing our immediate pleasure principle, please meet Mr. Comfy. Mr. Comfy believes that life should always be pleasurable. As you can see in the picture, the bird is just about to excuse herself on his head. So the immediate comfort principle doesn't always work well for Mr. Comfy. I would not advise you to believe him. In life, you sometimes have to first do the unpleasant. Every time you feel like rejecting doing what isn't comfortable, remember Mr. Comfy. It's a natural tendency to reject what's not comfortable. However, that does not work in our favor. Recognizing it will help you overcome it. If you do what is easy in your life will be difficult. If you do what is hard, your life will be easy. If you have something unpleasant to do, it's better to do it and get it over with. That's much better than to leave it standing in front of your face all day, every day for a long period. Say to yourself, I am ready and determined. As soon as I feel deviation from the path because it's not pleasant, I will continue on. It's not pleasant only for the first few seconds, just like it's not pleasant to get out of bed. Just be prepared to being in the unpleasant and finish the task. Hello, Mr. Comfy. Who asked you to come? Get out of here. We have a saying in Israel, pleasant is dead. Or another saying goes, and that's quite international, no pain, no gain. No one said everything should be pleasant. Get out of here, Mr. Comfy, and don't ever come back again. If you find it hard to overcome because of the immediate pleasure principle and the benefits that are really in the long term, try this meditation. Relax, then imagine yourself in the future, enjoying the future benefit. Visualize it in color, from your own eyes' perspective, with a wonderful feeling of achievement. Do this meditation routinely. This visualization brings closer the future pleasures derived from your current today strive. See how you will be disappointment if the task will not be done, and how your life will be. See it in small black and white from a side kind of point of view. Then return to the full picture of the colorful success that is to come. See yourself taking the effort in doing the task. Imagine yourself happy and enjoying the benefits of the done task in the future. This will not only help you overcome procrastination, it will also increase your self-confidence. You'll increase the power to do and to accomplish tenfold. It's a matter of being prepared and being aware. The next thinking disorder is fear, facing fear. Fear causes our alert system to kick in before our rational mind has its say. You can overcome this tendency by saying to yourself, it's natural and it's okay to be afraid. A worthy goal should be behind the comfort zone. Here too, identifying the thinking distortion is critical. You must recognize that you're afraid. This fear can be in the face of a possible failure. However, always remember that the real failure is the failure to act. There can also be a fear of success. What will happen if I succeed? In both cases, you have to stand up and believe in yourself. Hello, Mr. Fear. I am actually prepared in advance for your coming. I'm sorry, but you're not welcome. I intend to move on with Mr. Courage. So I feel you, Mr. Fear, but I will do it with Mr. Courage. I will not stay in my comfort zone. Advancing forward is the way. The next thinking disorder we all have is the perfectionist disorder. Here again, you have to be ready and identify the thought. Once you recognize him, you greet him. Hello, Mr. Perfect. How are you? So you're here again, you twisted way of thinking. I'm just starting my task. It doesn't have to be perfect yet. There is no such thing as perfect anyway. If there's a problem, we'll sort it out later. Even then, it won't be perfect. It will be excellent though. Just get out of my way, Mr. Perfect. You're not welcome. When I don't know what to do, I say to myself, just write the title. Then, let's just write a few sentences. Then, just finish that paragraph that I do know. And somehow the work gets done because I didn't listen to Mr. Perfect. Both fear and perfectionism have an inner feeling that you're not good enough. Realize you can do it. If there's anything scary, it's not doing. Not doing is a sure way to failure. Not doing is what should be feared. You take a deep breath and continue to perform, and you cross the threshold of fear. This will lead to progress that will lead you to more self-confidence and decrease your fear. The next thinking distortion is the student syndrome. If the task is delayed because it doesn't have a set time to do it, you are the student in the syndrome, a sign that Mr. Free Student has appeared. Tell you about Mr. Free Student. Just look at him. Everyone has long since finished university, but he has to re-register every year. This is because he didn't resolve what the last day to submit his last work should be. Just look at him. He's much older than all the other students and he's wearing this outdated youth clothes that don't even suit him. When is he ever gonna finish university? If you don't want to be like him, start doing, estimate how long the task takes, and cut the time in half and make it your deadline. You will thank me for this method. Let's talk about the tomorrow thinking distortion. Well, Mrs. Mañana is going to represent that. In her opinion, everything should be done tomorrow. I'll be in a better mood tomorrow. Tomorrow I will have more strength. Tomorrow I will be more motivated. Tomorrow I will be less tired. That is Mrs. Mañana's way of thinking, but we will not fall. We will decide that as soon as Mrs. Mañana appears, we will deliberately perform now, today. 2,000-year-old Jewish saying is, don't say I will learn when I have the time to learn. If you need to learn now. So yeah, don't overestimate your ability tomorrow. You really don't know how to evaluate yourself tomorrow. You need to do what is needed to do now. You can only do in the now. It's now or never, as the saying goes. It just won't happen in Mrs. Mañana's utopian tomorrow. These thinking distortions, Mr. Comfy, Mr. Fair, Mr. Free Student, Mrs. Mañana, show up from time to time. Maybe even they show up together. Now, for a few days, I want you to keep a procrastination journal. Write down who showed up and what did he say. Construct a list of the sentences you say to yourself when you identify these characters. For example, Mr. Free Student says, "Oh, I have enough time." Well, that sentence is right until it is not true. Mrs. Mañana says, "We will do it tomorrow." Mr. Comfy says, "Maybe it's best to have a rest. You're so tired today. Let's binge watch." Who's the character that comes to visit you? What are you gonna tell him when he appears? Don't kill yourself if you messed up. You just learned about the faulty thinking that came with this visiting character. Now you know what he says, where he or she try to trick you. Write it down in your list. Reflect at the end of each day until you have a good list. If you recognize the character, you recognize your procrastination trigger. Once you recognize the procrastination trigger, the only way is to execute the task immediately. It's awareness and preparedness that defeat procrastination. Now that we've gone over the thinking distortions, we'll go over some treatments, tools, and techniques that you should implement. The first tool and technique we're going to talk about is to schedule an appointment with yourself. I want you to schedule closed periods with yourself in the calendar itself. Otherwise, your time will be filled by other tasks. Don't just rely things will happen. You decide that from 10 to 12 you're going to have a meeting with yourself and set yourself to finish doing a set task on that time. Determine what you want to achieve in that closed time. What is your specific goal? The meeting will be in a comfortable working environment. It will be in a quiet and orderly working environment for execution without interruption. Put cellular phones away, no computer messages, no social media. If taking a break from social media for a set period seems impossible to you, remember that you've done it before for an entire year. It was called 1997. You close 25 minutes of concentration. You get up for 5 minutes, move your body a bit, breathe, have a drink, and then move on for the next 25 minutes to work. Get this to be your new habit. Set it to be in a specific place for work. Don't just work where you rest, for example. The meeting will be scheduled at a specific time according to your personal energy management. The less energy you have, the greater the tendency to procrastinate. Awareness of my daily biological clock, at what hours I'm productive, at what hours I'm kind of sleepy, lethargic, and you spend your time accordingly. You put these meetings with yourself when your energy peaks during the day. If you're like most people, your peak performance is in the morning. That's when you should schedule the hardest part of your task. This is called the eat the frog first thing in the morning method. In principle, our willpower demolishes throughout the day. That's why hard tasks should be scheduled first. Most people are productive in about 10 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. and from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. However, just customize it by your own peak. I want you to make these meetings on the time that you know that you are most productive. Determining the time is important because you can't rely on your willpower alone. It might never show up unless you set a specific time for it. You're going to determine implementation decisions before the meeting for yourself. These implementation decisions will be regarding situations that cause your procrastination. If somebody enters my room, I will say I'm busy and I will return. If there's a message, I will not look at it. Even put a picture of a cat to remind yourself not to be curious. Activate the strategy of identification and preparedness for these triggers, setting up your attention what you're going to do when these triggers show up. So as we said, you're really building a coping strategy. Prepare a list of what usually draws you out of track and decide how specifically you're going to deal with each one of these disturbances. For example, I have 6 things that I know deviate me off track. Unfortunately, Facebook, news, email messages, food and drink, watching watching the stock market and reading interesting articles that make me surf the internet mindlessly after a bothering, interesting question suddenly appears in my mind. So just make a list of what you're not going to do. Understand, we make 35,000 decisions each day. That's tiring. So why do you have to get into a tiring situation? You have to know in advance what your path is and what you're going to do when these disturbances show up. Don't believe in your decision making. Another thing is I want you to be flexible. Don't beat yourself up if the schedule changes. Determine in advance that closed schedules are subject to change. I write to myself a note what time the work session is going to end. So if, for example, it's 9:45 and I decide that I'm going to work till 10:15, then I write 10-15 minutes and I stick that note near me and I just don't get up before 10:15. Now when you feel like getting up, tell yourself 3 more minutes. On these 3 minutes, continue to work whilst taking slow, deep breaths. Okay, this will lower your impulsiveness and bring you back to self-awareness. So you now know to schedule what to do and when to do, and you're ready in advance for any interference. The second tool I want to talk to you about is focus. Recent studies show that multitasking is a false urban legend. These studies show that a focus and a state known as flow is the most effective state. Avoid multitasking. Work on one goal for a long and focused period until you reach an optimal concentration and flow. Every 25 minutes, change positions, but continue with the task after, 2-3 minutes break. If you find you have an unrelated thought, write it down aside on a note. Leave it. What we're trying to reach is a sense of flow, to be fully immersed, energized, focused, connected, and enjoying the activity. In essence, flow is characterized by the complete absorption in what one does. You lose your sense of time. Your action and consciousness melt and join together. In this state, you accomplish considerably more and enjoy it. Of course, taking care of yourself comes first, so don't overdo anything. If you sleep well, eat healthy, exercise, take a calming activity, and set other good habits, you will have a better focus. First, fix your habits, then your habits will fix you. It could be a good idea to build a ritual before you start a deep work, like playing an instrument, having a relaxing walk, preparing a nice green teacup, or maybe a coffee cup, anything to help you get into the mood. The third tool we're going to talk about is time management. Time management is such a basic known concept that we sometimes forget to implement it. Yet sometimes we don't go over what is well known and basic in our life and we neglect it because it's so known. Manage time, prioritize tasks, group tasks together, or cut them into several tasks as needed. How do you eat an elephant in small bites? Large tasks overwhelm us. You gotta understand it. That's why it's better to cut them down into several executionable smaller tasks. Start executing a small task and you will have an incentive to continue. The opposite is also true. If you connect small tasks that are similar and execute them together, then you're going to be much more productive, like put all your phone calls together. After we grouped or ungrouped our tasks, we determined for each one its importance level, its urgency level, and the time to execute it. Being productive is getting more tasks done in a specific time. Being effective is even more important because effectiveness means you prioritize to do the important tasks. What's the point of doing lots of tasks quickly if they're not important ones? Don't confuse action with real progress. Tools such as uninterrupted environment or focus contribute to our productivity. Effectiveness is doing the tasks that advance you towards your goals. The main thing is the main thing will be the main thing. Pareto's law also applies here. Notice that 20% of your tasks will advance you 80% towards reaching your goal. So success is doing the right thing, not doing everything right. These are the basics of time management, and it's always useful to repeat them. Mr. Comfy does have one more trick up his sleeve. He wipes off his smiling face and says dead serious, "Wait, you gotta see this, it's important." Then you find yourself reading an important or maybe interesting article. Then you see an important ad. It's important since it might be something you need that may be in a bargain price. Google and the other big internet giants know how to hook you by knowing what you find important. Your time is their commodity. They sell your time. So naturally you might get hooked by what seems to be important to you. The thing is, nothing is more important than you doing your important task now. The amount of information that they have that is quote-unquote important to you is endless. You can lose all your time and life consuming it. It may look serious and important, but it's really the comfort of not finishing your task. So don't let the serious, important Mr. Comfy misguide you. One day I decided to make a film for my son's bar mitzvah, and it turned out I needed special editing software because I had 4 hours of movies and they had to kind of find the scenes. I didn't know anything about transitions, subtitles, cartoons, effects, music going in, music going out, but once I decided to do it, I had to learn and perform it all. When I started, suddenly, miraculously, I had the time for it. It is as if the time was created. Why? Because I was connected to my goal. In contrast, if you suddenly have a plumbing problem in your house, you dedicate 7-8 hours a week for it. Where did that time come from? It became urgent and important, and you decided to close the matter. You became committed to the time, and the time was created. When you set priorities, you know what your goals are, you know what your ambitions are, and you connect to them, then suddenly the time shows up. When you really want the goal and you set the time for it, you will automatically ignore interruptions. Procrastination will not even think of showing up. So the real question is, what is your why? The state of flow occurs when we're connected and fully immersed in the task at hand. That is a vital part of flow. The main thing is that the main thing will be the main thing. If your reason is not sufficient, you will have sufficient excuses. If you don't have a reason, Mr. Comfy, Mr. Free Student, Mrs. Manana, Mr. Fear, and Mr. Perfectionist will come to visit you. If you are connected to a certain goal, suddenly all these excuses just don't bother you. I came prepared to my boss once and I printed a few emails proving why I couldn't perform a task. Then he asked me, why didn't you do the task? I gave him the proof. I showed it to him. I told him, listen, look, I have all these mails showing that I couldn't do it. And he goes, I didn't ask you if you have proof why you didn't do it. I asked why you didn't do it. That was a defining moment for me. It was really mentorship. I remember when I was in the army, I was told, if you can't enter through a door, enter through a window. If you can't enter through a window, enter through the wall. Nothing will stop you from achieving your goal. We're not talking about willpower. We're talking about true connection to your goal and the true motivation to reach the goal. Set priorities for your tasks and goal. Connect to your goal, and the time will create itself. Wait, but how do I connect with a goal, you may ask? Make a list of what will happen if your goal will not be met. Make another list of what will happen if you will perform the goal. Even better, take the time and draw yourself a picture of yourself in the future, without reaching the goal and with reaching the goal. Draw these two pictures one near the other. Really spend some time, 5 minutes a day for guided meditation and see yourself striving and reaching your goals. Start a day seeing your vision and end a day seeing your vision. A guided meditation will set you up to how you see yourself. Whoever sees himself as an athlete will hold habits of an athlete, and that's how he's going to look. Pregnant woman will immediately stop smoking just because she has a new image of herself. We hold an image of ourselves and behave and achieve accordingly. That's why it's so important to set time for guided meditation and to see yourself accomplishing whatever you wanted to accomplish. Tell others about your commitments, assignments, and what you intend to accomplish by a certain time. It could be a coach, a friend, a family member, a mentor, an accountability partner. Make it embarrassing for you to miss your commitment. Put up pictures that inspire you to finish the task. There's no shortage of ways to help you stay connected and committed to a goal. It's a matter of choice, and it's in your hand. Think for a moment about something important that you want, that you dream about, and that you keep postponing. If you don't draw your goals in life, they will be drawn by the threads that somebody else pulls. Decide what will give your life value. Start working on your goal. The world will show you the way to accomplish it. You have it, you can do it. If you dreamed of giving something, you've gained life experience, and you have the gift in your hand, a gift to give to the world, now is the time to give it to the world. Right now. Every second you have is a second chance. It's like oil in the ground. As soon as you start digging, it will come out and break out of you. Okay, we now know the thinking distortions that cause procrastination. We know Mr. Comfy, we know Mr. Perfect, we know Mr. Fear, we know Mrs. Mañana. She keeps explaining why tomorrow will be suitable. We know Mr. Free Student, who just likes to wait until the last minute and then he can't really do things. We know them, we know they will appear, we know how to recognize them, and we will politely ask them not to disturb us. I am really interested who comes to visit you. Is it Mr. Comfy, Mr. Perfect, Mr. Fear, Mrs. Mayana, or Mr. Free Student? Well, please let me know and I'll promise to read your remarks for this video. You now know how to treat each one of these thinking disorders. If you see Mr. Comfy, you know it's not always pleasant and that we intend to do the unpleasant for a pleasant life. When you see Mr. Perfect, we're going to do whatever we can right now. Afterwards, we will improve. You see Mr. Fear, you know he talks nonsense. After all, we are worth much more than he claims. Regarding Mrs. Mañana, we already know her optimal tomorrow is a bluff. And regarding Mr. Free Student, we already know that we have to determine the time for our mission. So we're going to be ready. We're not going to let these characters distract us. What distracts you, destructs you. You know what to do. We talked about practical tools. Schedule a closed meeting with yourself. Close uninterrupted time for quality tasks. Make sure it's the time of the day your energy levels are up. Schedule it now. Start implementing time management. It's not enough to know about it. Group small tasks of the same type or the same topic and just do them one after the other. Divide large tasks to manageable chunk-sized tasks. Do not multitask. You want an effective productivity. If you summarize what we've learned, the chance of you remembering will increase. The same is true if you're going to repeat it to yourself 2 days in the next week. So I'm attaching a present to you from me, a free PDF picture of the summary in the description. So you can just hang it up 1 week and remind yourself of it twice this week so that this information will sink in. That will make sure that you will remember. The more prepared you are to identify and reject the distorted thinking of our characters, the better you will get at it. The more you practice and implement, the more time you will have for uninterrupted focus and flow. And the main thing is that the main thing should be the main thing for you. It's already inside you. Just let it break out. So don't forget to take the PDF I left you in the description below. And please subscribe to my channel so I can do more videos for you. And if you like this video, please press like as well. See you in my next video.